Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, my name is Josephine Kenya. I'm from Uganda. Like so many children in my country, I never got to know about my HIV status until I was 8 years old. So I got to know this after reading a letter that was written by my mother. I was never supposed to read that letter. So after some time, my mother then disclosed to me. And she was also surprised because I then had to tell her that I read the letter and I'd already known about her HIV status. Then after that, we were taken into a local hospital to get treatment. And shortly after I was initiated on treatment, I was introduced into the area clubs. These are psychosocial support groups for children and adolescents living with HIV. They are being supported by the Elizabeth Glaser Pediatric AIDS Foundation. So into the area clubs, we had annual camps. And in one of the annual camps, for the very first time in my life, I got to understand, I got to meet a family that truly understood me, and a family where I truly belonged, a family where I truly shared my story without fear of stigma and without fear of discrimination. Shortly after that, I became an area club facilitator. In that role, I would share my story to encourage other young people and other children to be able to overcome the challenges that they were facing at that moment. Even up to now, I still do that work. I support area clubs in my country, and I do that through sharing my story. And I've gone up to not only share my story to my fellow young people living with HIV, but I've gone to also sharing my story before the US Congress, before the members of Congress, to advocate for better treatment options for young people living with HIV. I know that we all go through challenges. And by then, my challenge was HIV. But to all the young women here, and to all the different individuals here, I want to let you know that we have the power not to let our challenges define our destiny or our future. We can use our challenges as blocks to actually be successful in life and to make the world a better place. And that is what I've used my HIV status for. Today in my country, I continue to support very many young people living with HIV to define their own lives and not to let their HIV status define their future or define their goals in the next years or in their next generation. Last month, on 30th, I was able to publish my book. As you can see on the screens, Beyond Your Status, Thriving in Life in Spite of Your HIV Status, in spite of my HIV status. You can get a copy today, and you can read more about my life, and I've been able to live with HIV and not to let it define my life. I have a bachelor's degree in social sciences from Makerere University, and I work as a youth program coordinator at Muju for psychosocial activities. The psychosocial support that I work for at Muju is supported by the Stephen Lewis Foundation. I design, I plan, I implement, and I monitor psychosocial support activities because it is beyond the medication that we get on a daily basis. It goes beyond to getting that invisible hand that so many people living with HIV need, not only young people, but also adults, because it is never easy to accept our HIV status. Thank you so much.
Dean, thank you so much for sharing your story. You are a fantastic example of all of the powerful young people who are here, and particularly in your country, in Uganda. I know this is not an easy issue to stand up for. So I think you've already been using your power here at Women Deliver. I get the sense.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit more about maybe how are you going to use your power once you leave this conference?
So, as always, I'm going to use my power as a young person who has lived with HIV since birth. I'm going to continue using my power to share my story. My story has two audiences. It has the HIV negative audience. It calls out for them to stay negative. But it also empowers the HIV positive audience to stay positive, and to live meaningful lives. So I'm going to continue to share my story because I know currently in Sub-Saharan Africa or in Africa, HIV is still a big issue, and they need to hear my story. That is why I have my book out.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you so
welcome.
much, Josephine.
Thank you.
Empowering others as well as yourself.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank you.